In this video, I'll be using the OM1 and the 300mm f4 lens to photograph dippers in the Peak District. So in this video we're looking at photographing dippers. I'm using the OM1 and the 300mm f4 with a 1.4 converter. I'm in the Peak District and I've had quite a productive day. I found some dippers and managed to get some quite nice still images as well as some good video. So basically for the still images I'm hand holding, okay, with the image stabilizing on this, it's amazing. I can shoot quite easily handheld for still images. When shooting the video I do put it on a tripod. There's nothing worse than having a video that's going up and down and moving around all the time. So when I'm shooting video I much prefer to have it on a tripod. But for this, no problem at all. And with the improvement of the ISO on the OM1 compared to the other ones, my standard ISO that I'm using at the moment is 1600. I've even put it up to 2000 today because the light's not great, but you know, you have what you have. In some ways soft overcast lighting is better than bright sunlight. With a bird that's primarily white and brown, that white's very easy to burn out in bright sunlight. So the light's actually been very good today. So I'm going to take some more pictures, some more video, and hopefully get some good shots. The first pair of dippers that I found were still in the process of nest building. I was surprised that even though it was the end of April, they were not busy feeding chicks. Whether their first nest was predated or they were just late starting, I don't know, but I was quite surprised to see that they were bringing nesting material in rather than food. As is often the case, they had nested on the far side of the bank amongst overhanging moss and vegetation. Even though they're on the far side of the bank, I could still get images because of the reach of the 300mm plus the 1.4 converter. This also ensured that at that distance I would not be disturbing them, and they certainly took no notice of me whatsoever. If you photograph dippers in an area where they're not used to seeing humans, then your only option is to use a hide. There are public places where dippers have got so used to seeing people that they show no fear of humans at all. In these type of locations it's best not to visit on weekends when they're often busy with families and dog walkers. In public places, the only thing that spooks dippers are when dog walkers let the dogs off the leads to splash about in the river. So the best time to go is during a weekday and early in the morning before it gets busy. Because the area where the birds were nesting was wooded and quite overgrown, the light levels meant that I had to push the ISO to 2000, 2500 and on occasion 3200. All the stills were shot using the OM1 with bird tracking set on the camera. The video clips were shot at 4K 60 frames per second. Most of the time I was looking for shutter speeds of between 400th of a second to 800th of a second for the still images. I was not trying to take action shots, so these shutter speeds were fine for straight portrait shots. In the afternoon I found another pair of dippers. Here both the male and female dippers were taking food into the nest. Once again it was built on the far side of the bank, built with a combination of grass, moss and vegetation. The nest was well camouflaged and about 40 foot away from my side of the bank. From this distance and using the 300mm lens plus 1.4 converter, it meant there was no chance of me disturbing them. It's only since shooting more video with the OM1 that I have concluded that video shot at normal speed appears almost too fast. Slowing it down to half speed in post-production gives a much more natural looking and smoother video. Although both birds were busy collecting food, they would occasionally stop for a rest, preen or stretch, as can be seen in this video clip. Having seen Mike Lane's video on photographing dippers at a 15th of a second, I was keen to try this. I had previously done something similar on my previous visit, but on that occasion I had only gone down to a 30th of a second. For this type of shot, I ideally wanted a bird sitting in an area where the water cascaded over some rocks. At a 15th of a second, this would give a nice pictorial feel to the image. They seemed to want to land on everywhere but where I wanted, but eventually one landed just in the right position. For these images I did have the camera on a tripod, and it's just a case of taking a series of pictures in continuous burst in the hope of getting a few sharp ones. At a 15th of a second, a lot of images were spoiled where the dipper dipped up and down or moved, but some shots came out okay. For these shots I was firing the camera using a cable release. I did find a very approachable grey wagtail. It did not always land in the best positions, but again perseverance paid off, and I took some good stills and video. On one occasion it did fly into a tree quite close to me, which resulted in this shot. So now I'm going to quickly show a few images from a previous visit. These were taken just before the first lockdown started, over 2 years ago. At this time I was using the OM1 Mark III, once again combined with the 300mm plus the 1.4 converter. Because this camera lens combination gives you 7.5 stops of image stabilising, you can easily hand hold without the need for a tripod, even at quite low shutter speeds. It can be quite amazing how close and approachable dippers can be in areas where they have no fear of humans. Normally speaking, when stalking birds, you have a problem getting close enough to get a decent image size in the viewfinder. But on this occasion, there were times when I had to back away because the bird was coming too close to me. One good way of telling if birds are using a stretch of river is to look for rocks, stones and logs that have bird droppings on. You will often find that both dippers and wagtails have favourite perches they like to land on, and these perches will often be covered in bird droppings. I hope you enjoyed the video and found it helpful. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel to be notified of future uploads. Thanks for watching.